Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. We're joined here with the head coaches from both the Oklahoma Sooners and the Georgia Bulldogs, Coach Lincoln Riley and Coach Kirby Smart. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones. We will start with an opening remark from each coach, followed by 30 minutes of questions, and we will have a photo op with the Leishman Trophy for the Rose Bowl game at the conclusion of the press conference. As I start, I'd like to ask both coaches to give a quick remark about their week here at the Rose Bowl game. We'll start with Coach Riley.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a great week. You'd always heard so much about the Rose Bowl. Both growing up, just as a kid, as a fan of college football, and then certainly getting into this business. And the great reputation that this game has, and now getting to experience the week, you can see why. The venue's incredible. Every detail by the Rose Bowl committee has been taken care of to a T. Our players have had a great time, some great experiences that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, and so we really appreciate the hospitality and the opportunity to be here. Like every team, especially in a game with this magnitude, you try to balance, all the activities, having fun, not shortchanging our guys on that side of it, but also having great prep work and getting ready to play. Obviously, a great team in Georgia. So I feel like we've had a great week of practice. We're anxious and ready for the game to be here. It's been a long time coming, a lot of build-up, but I feel like our guys are excited, prepared, ready to play very well.
Coach Smart?
On behalf of the SEC and the University of Georgia, I'd like to thank the Tournament of Roses. They've been wonderful hosts. Like Lincoln said, first class bowl game, one of the best I've ever been involved in. My previous experience out here was a little different because we didn't stay really with the Tournament of Roses. It was a little different experience, but it's been tremendous. I think our players have really enjoyed it. They've done a good job of keeping them busy and giving them something to do, but also not to the point of being a major distraction from what is a really important game to our program. We have great respect for Oklahoma, the university, Coach Stoops, Coach Riley. They've got a tremendous program. I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for what they've done. It's been a place that has set a standard, not only in their conference, but in the country. So we're excited to get an opportunity to play a really good program in them. A lot of players last year, a lot of players this year have helped set a standard for what we want to play to at the University of Georgia, and we try each game to go out and achieve that standard. And this senior group has been very special to me. A lot of them I knew through recruiting, but this is a second year with them, and I've seen a little bit of a metamorphosis of leadership, of taking ownership and doing the right things, and there's a good group of them. And I think a lot of the investment that last year's seniors made has helped with this group as well. So we're really excited for the opportunity to play in the college football playoff. I think it's an awesome honor. It's a great experience. Been a lot of build-up for this game, like Lincoln said, and I think that it's time to go play the game. And one of the hardest things to do as a coach is manage that emotion and that anxiety building into such a great game like this. And we're excited and ready to go play. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach. We're going to open up the floor for questions. We have 2 mic runners on both sides. Please raise your hand, and when asking a question, please state your name and media outlet. We'll start here on the left.
Wes Blankenship with WXIA in Atlanta. This question is for both coaches. With experience in the college football playoff before, what are these next 24 hours plus like leading up to the game?
Yeah, I think it's a chance to finally get back on your normal routine. Get the guys in a routine where they feel comfortable, and for yourself as a coach. There's a lot of build-up, a lot of attention around this game, and so I think it's just refocusing in 100%, getting on that routine, kind of settling down, getting away from all the noise, all the attention, and getting ready to play your very best game.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, we get back into a much more normal routine of a game week, at least for the next 24 hours, because everything's been built into. There's been an event, there's been some kind of activity where now the activity is the game. So the next 24 hours are much more normal for our guys. But the most abnormal thing is they haven't had it in however many days it's been, 28 or 30 days. So it's good to get back to some normalcy for them.
We have a question there on the right from Ralph.
Ralph Russo, the Associated Press. For both coaches, you each, in different ways, stepped into situations that were not rebuilds. You had good players in the pipeline at each place. I'm wondering what the challenges are for each of you, let's say different circumstances, of taking over that job when you have good players and kids who are, and it's not necessarily a rebuild, but you still want to put your stamp on the program.
Well, I think in my case, different than Lincoln's, there's two kinds of philosophies there. There's where you come in and scratch, overhaul, throw everything out because you have conviction that what was done before wasn't working. Then there's, you've got to win the players over because they may not see it as there was a problem. They may see it as they were completely happy with winning 9-10 games a year, and that's what I call complacency. And you've got to be able to make some changes and make them in the right direction to turn the program around, whether it's new ideas, new energy, whatever it is. There's different ways to do things, and I think we all realize that. And in our case, that was probably the greatest challenge, was not accepting what had been done before as the norm and convincing the players that are currently on the team that we can do better. We can do better things, and we can improve. Well, how do we do that? Well, we do it this way. Well, that may not be the right way in their mind. You've got to convince them it is, and sometimes that takes more work than just coming in where a team's hungry and more aggressive to learn and listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, obviously my situation was a little unique. Probably the biggest challenge was starting in early June. That honestly was probably the biggest challenge. And whatever changes that we did want to make, feeling like you had to get them done pretty quickly. And I think there'll be some more changes that we make that we felt like because of the timing, it wasn't appropriate to try to, change maybe something bigger in June. That's maybe something that happens down the line after the season. So, yeah, obviously my situation was different in having our staff in place. A lot of those guys that I'd worked with, been a part of, we'd had a lot of success together, and so I think for us it's continuing to build on it, trying to find a few ways to get a little bit better, and then maintaining the high expectations that there's always been at Oklahoma.
Question in the front right there.
Murray Poole, Bulldog Illustrated. For both coaches, you mentioned their emotions. How important is it going to be to set the tempo you want in the first 10 minutes of the game?
Yeah, it's always important, especially when you hadn't played in a while. But is that going to sit there and decide the game? Who knows? There's going to be ups and downs in this game, just like all games, especially when you play against great competition. And so, certainly you want to start fast, but you're going to have to be able to hang in there in this game. Both teams are good enough. I would suspect both teams are going to have some strong points in the game, some runs, and how you answer that is to me, going to be a big key in this game.
Yeah, I always think it comes back to the response, because there's moments they've had this year, we've had this year, past years, big games. It's a momentum game. The college game is such a momentum game, and there's so much emotion involved that a lot of the outcomes are dictated by how you handle what happens, not necessarily what happens, but how you handle what happens. And I think that's really important, and both teams have handled that well throughout the year because they both had some tough situations.
Okay, we have a question up here on the left.
Dean Blevins, CBS Oklahoma City. Kirby, in talking about the quarterbacks and yours in particular, you've got in this game the difference is vast in terms of experience. What about leading into it with your young guy? Do you talk to him much about the big stage, or do you just assume that he'll continue what he's done this season?
Well, the good thing for him is he's not playing against Baker. They're not on the field at the same time unless we put him out there at defensive back or something, which that would really concern me. So he doesn't have to do that. The good news is he has done a good job of using the people around him to help him. Also, he has played in some really big games this year for us, so he's got some experience. Traveling to Notre Dame the first time, I was a lot more worried about how he was going to respond to adversity, to mistakes and things like that. Having seen him play throughout the year, play in our conference, play in the SEC championship game, I think he'll have the confidence to respond the right way. It doesn't mean he won't have jitters. Baker played in this game, 2 years ago, I think, and he was maybe a sophomore or junior. I'm not sure what year he was then, but you have to grow through that. You have to use the people around you. But we've made sure he understands that he's not in a statistical warfare with Baker Mayfield. We know that Baker's a very good player.
Okay, we have a question in the middle. Oh, right there.
Mark Weiser, Athens Banner Herald. Kirby, you called it a really important game for the program. At this stage of the season, are you comfortable with the guys being able to handle that and the magnitude of what's out there?
Well, I think every game's important to the program. I really do. I think that every game you play is really important. Obviously, this is on a much bigger stage. And when you start talking about the magnitude of games, I think it's really important the way your structure's built, the way your infrastructure is, the way your culture is, that the big games are what your program's built for. I mean, you build towards this all year, all off season, and each game only gets bigger. They've been in a must-win situation for I don't know how many weeks now. We've been in a must-win situation for a lot of weeks. So there's been a lot of big games played. So for us, it's another opportunity to go out and play with physicality, play with good composure, and go play the best you can play.
We have a question in the center towards the back.
James Hale, Sports Talk 1400, the ref, and OU Insider in Norman. Lincoln Baker showed up at the press conference yesterday and sounded good. He thought his voice would be fine. But I'm just curious, in today's game, Lincoln, and all the things that go on with signs and signals and things like that, if you got hoarse during the game, would it cause you to have to do anything else, or are the hand signals already there and you're ready to, and it wouldn't impact the game at all?
I don't want to tell this guy too much about that. We're confident in where Baker's at and him being ready to play well for us tomorrow.
Do we have any additional questions? We have one in the back there from Tom. Heather.
For Lincoln, if you could pick a turning point this season in which you felt most comfortable in your first season as head coach, what comes to mind?
Oh, man. I don't know that you ever feel comfortable in this job, honestly. I think the second you do, you're probably in trouble. And that's been good. It's I think, allowed me and our staff, our team, to kind of keep our focus on, one game a week. We knew the expectations, not necessarily from the outside, but just within our walls. We expected to be here from second one. And even after this coaching change, even after the Iowa State loss, we still fully expected to be here. And so, I don't know that any of us have ever felt comfortable. It's been a must-win attitude for a long time. I still feel an immense pressure to do my job the very best I can for our team, just like I did the day I got the job. So I don't know if that'll ever go away.
We have a question here on the right.
For both coaches, you guys played at a time before the playoff when the goal of the sport was to get to the best bowl game possible. Do you find with today's players that, and especially programs like yours, that anything less than the playoff is considered a disappointment?
I don't think you ever want to get to that point, because you're going to have a large contingency in college football that's disappointed. And I don't think that's fair. I think having played in a system where I got to go to some really exciting bowl games, some of my greatest memories of college football are the 3 bowl games I got to play in. And I think that's a reward for a successful season. To say that some of the bowls may not have gotten watered down, I can't argue that point, but I can tell you this: if you win 8, 9, 10 games and you get an opportunity to go to a great bowl game, I think it's a great reward for the players. It may or may not have been the most successful season you could have put out there for these 2 programs, which are great programs and great institutions, but I'll be honest with you, it'd be very unfair to say we don't need an opportunity for bowl games, because so many of these student athletes, they get an opportunity to go out and play one last game, to enjoy an experience, to go places that a lot of our kids have never gone and see places they've never seen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the best example I can come up with is, we were one of those teams that were right on the outside looking in last year, but we won, I think, our last 10 games in a row, won a Big 12 championship, played a really good Auburn team in the Sugar Bowl. That was a big-time, heavy-hitting game last year, and we're fortunate enough to win that game. And that was a memory and created for that team, those players, that they'll never forget. So people on the outside, I know certainly put a lot more focus onto this playoff, and maybe it does take away from some of the other bowls from the outside perspective, but I can promise you this: every one of our players and coaches laid it on the line last year in the Sugar Bowl and could care less about the playoff at that point. So it's certainly always a goal. It's certainly always a place we want to be, but realistically, there's 100-something teams out there, and only 4 of them get in. You're not going to get in every single year. It's just not going to happen. And so there's still a lot left to play for and a lot of great things for these players that they put a lot of hard work in to be able to experience.
Another question on the right.
Yeah, Barry Trammell with the Oklahoman. For both you guys, you play in conferences with distinct offensive cultures. Now you're in a game matched opposite of that offensive culture. How tough is that for your defenses that are built to stop a majority of offenses that play a certain way, and now you got to stop an offense that plays the different way?
Yeah, I think there's challenges. There's certainly challenges when you play people out of conference that you're not used to playing every single year. I think the good thing for us defensively is, at least from our offense, they see a little bit of both. Not that it's exactly like Georgia, it's not, but at the same time, it's not like we're just sitting and dropping back and throwing it 60 times a game from 4 wides, and that's all they see. So I think that's helped us defensively, giving us maybe a good head start on it, used to seeing some of the run game, some of the physicality, and we're hoping that carries over.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that the 2 conferences are as far apart as maybe you make them to be, because I think when you watch both conferences, the SEC has slowly morphed closer and more spread elements. I mean, you look at what Missouri does, what Kentucky does, and you start watching all these other teams. I think Auburn spread, I mean, what is spread? We always have that debate. What is a team that can run the ball physically? Oklahoma runs the ball. They run the ball, and they're physical at running the ball. So are a lot of teams in our conference. They throw the ball really well. They spread you out and make you defend all areas of the field. I think all offenses are trying to do that now. I just don't see the old traditional I formation pound you, which I think you may be making that synonymous with the SEC, which I don't think the SEC is that way. I think it's slowly grown to be more of a spread out conference. Probably not the same offensive numbers, obviously, that the Big 12 is, but it's not as big a disparity as you'd think.
We have a question in the back, left.
Yeah, I'm Lincoln Garanimig of the Tulsa World. Staying with defense for a second, can you characterize the growth of Kenneth Murray this season and maybe speak to his importance, especially against Georgia's run game on Monday?
Yeah, no, it's been pretty impressive what the kid's been able to do, as a true freshman, throwing him in there, and really he came in early but didn't even play inside backer the entire spring, with some depth issues and some other occurrences. We had to make that change, and for him to be able to flip over there and handle it mentally, to stay healthy throughout the season, and also really become one of our leaders, even though he's just a true freshman, has been really impressive. So his ceiling is really high. He's only going to get better and better. He's really taken some big steps this year. You're not going to find many young inside backers that have the kind of ability that he does, and it's been fun to see that ability really start to show up more and more, especially in these big games.
We have a question here on the right.
I'm Coach Jed May with the Red and Black. For both coaches, you mentioned all the extracurricular things that go along with a game like this. How have you been able to strike that balance this week between fun and work, and how have your experiences as assistants in college football playoff scenarios helped you in planning things out this week?
Yeah, how do you strike the balance? I think a lot of it comes back to the plan that you set as coaches. I think making sure they understand the priorities when they come and being able to separate the two, being able to focus in when it is anything that has to do with football, but also being able to relax a little bit and enjoy all these great events that we've had here at the Rose Bowl. And I think a lot of it goes back to your leadership. I think they set the tone for the team, and I think if your leadership believes that and kind of sets the standard that way, that the rest of these guys follow suit.
Yeah, we just try to keep the main thing the main thing.
We have a question here in the front.
Coach, the 2 years that you've been with Nick and Sony, what have they meant to you, and is it hard to believe that we're in the final stage of their career at Georgia?
No, it's not hard to believe we're in the final stage, because it seems like they've been there for 20 years. I mean, they've been playing for so long, and they've been such a special tandem, and they got such a special relationship. So I'm really excited to see those two guys. They've been really focused this week. They're two of the most driven guys on our team, the ones that don't get distracted, the ones that are in every meeting. I mean, they sit in every special teams meeting, even though they're not on it. They're in the front of the room. They're making sure guys are attentive. I mean, they're what you want to be the face of your organization and leadership in your organization. And I give each of them tremendous kudos to the way they've managed coming back, being bought in, not being selfish, being patient, and doing a great job of leading our program. And they'll be forever remembered as, probably the best duo to play at Georgia.
We have a question here on the right.
Kevin Ward, Sports Animal Radio in Tulsa. It's been a little bit surprising to most fans when they find out that these two programs had never met. And I wondered what your thoughts were when you found out that, given the proud history of both programs and all the great coaches at both, that you're making history here tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty unique. The first thing I thought about was how the hell we're going to stop them. But, I wasn't thinking that they had not actually played. And when I found that out, I mean, for the storied history and the great traditions of both places, it's pretty amazing. And to be part of that in such a wonderful setting, such an awesome place to play a game, such a rare place for both programs to get to play, and then to play each other for the first time, this is really special.
Yeah, I would echo that. I was surprised, honestly, again, with the history of both teams, how good both teams have been over a long period of time, that there had never been a meeting. How much does that mean right now? Honestly, not much. It will mean something down the line, but just knew we were getting ready to play a very well-coached team, a great opponent. Again, like Kirby said, in one of the best venues, not in just college sports, but in sports, period.
Okay, we have time for two more questions. We have one on the right.
This one, Ralph Russo with the Associated Press. Lincoln, your backup quarterback got a lot of attention yesterday because of Baker's situation. How has Kyler embraced, adjusted to the role of being a backup after coming in with, such celebrated status as a recruit?
Yeah, it's been great for him. I don't think we could have dreamed up a better scenario for him. He probably had more attention coming on him than just about any high school player that's ever played in the state of Texas, which is saying something. And then, goes to A&M, plays quite a bit for them. And I think it was good for him to get here and be able to catch his breath, kind of get under the radar a little bit, having a chance to learn from Baker, to really get settled in within the system. And then he's done a great job. He's been one of the best backups this year that I've ever had as far as maintaining focus, being ready to play each week, continuing to improve. Especially for a guy that's had some starting experience, that's been pretty impressive. And then, he's been ready when we've called upon him. He's played well in the games, and then obviously played well when we started him against West Virginia. So, yeah, I've been proud of his development, and he's a guy that I sleep well at night knowing if something happened and it was time for him to play, I don't think we'd miss a beat.
Question in the front.
Lincoln, we know all about Baker's competitiveness. Is it fair to say him coming here yesterday was part of that? I mean, he told the story of seeing you answering questions and decided to come over.
Probably. I think more than that, it's just he's that kind of teammate. He doesn't want guys to have to answer for him, or, he, I think, just kind of wanted to let everybody move past it, see that he was alive and was able to walk and move and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I think it was his way of just saying, hey, here, let's go do it. Let's get past it. Let's get ready to play the game.
Okay, I'd like to thank both coaches for joining me today. Just a quick reminder, Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit will be available in the foyer. I'd like to have both coaches stand for a photo op with the trophy. So if we could get the photographers to stay down for a second so the cameras can get a shot, and then we'll have the photographers take a shot. So coaches will slow you on both sides of the trophy. So Coach Riley on our right, Coach Smart on our left. Guys, get down for 1 second. You guys good back there? Okay, photographers, you can get up if you need a better shot. Shake hands as well, and then we'll be done. We give a shot right here. We will, 1 second. photographers down for 1 second. Okay, here's the stand over this way a little bit. Thank you. And shaking hands again. Kirby, knee down. Kirby. Okay, thanks everyone.